In esports, peripherals are everything. From mice to keyboards, monitors, and even mouse pads, gamers will go out of their way to customize practically any part of their setup, in the hope that it might just give them some sort of advantage over their opponents. Some start off basic by trying out different products of various shapes and sizes, while other DIY deities make it their mission to design personalized peripherals that most of us could only dream of.
$3,500 keyboard. Ooh. Dude, this thing is nuts. Oh my God. Look at, dude, it's so clean. You guys can read chat through it. That's how clean it is. Dude, I can't wait to put this in my bathroom and then shave with this mirror on the back.
But not everyone cares to use the newest and shiniest custom peripherals out there. Hell, some of us enjoy living in the past.
I started using it after my first mouse broke and I didn't have like another mouse at my home, so I was just like grabbing the next mouse I can possibly get. It happened to be a trackball.
But very few players have managed to compete and even win on esports' biggest stages using peripherals that are, well, weird. And when they do manage to make it work, it is often quite spectacular.
Okay, goes for a good, a baby conversion.
The ghetto combo.
Does get a combo, hard knockdown.
Or just do super.
The clap, did this get him? It got him! And the burst bait on the 2H! Initial T!
He lost his burst there every time!
Oh my goodness.
So on this week's episode of Cracked, we are taking a look at the oddest peripherals ever used in esports and posing the question, are they viable or were they just used as a joke? Okay, so before we dive into this week's episode, I must humbly request, as usual, that you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and if it's something you think you'd be into, turning on notifications. We are very close to 2 million subs, and you could help us get there. Who knows? Maybe when we hit 2 million subs, I will start using a wireless mouse. I'm not gonna start using a wireless mouse. No. So I'm sure I don't have to tell any of you that gamers have been tinkering with each and every aspect of their setup for quite literally decades. Whether it's adjusting their in-game sensitivity or literally taking apart their controller, gamers will do just about anything to stand out. Some do it for performance, of course, but others do it to make the game they love just that bit more accessible. Take Seth Killian, for instance. He is known for playing fighting games with his quote-unquote crosshand method, where he places his left hand on the buttons and his right hand on the control stick. And while it might look kind of weird, for players like Seth, it just feels more natural. As we mentioned in our episode about left-handed gamers, adopting such an unorthodox grip style has actually made certain fighting games easier to pick up for lefties. Enough from me, it's time that you listen to the guy who, you know, just knows what just run the stupid title card.
And now, the guy who actually knows what he's talking about.
Okay. Using wacky peripherals is all fine and good, but how are people competing at the top of their games with these things? Well, one piece we should probably talk about is muscle memory. We bring it up all the time, like in our left-handed gamers episode, or most recently in our episode on mouse acceleration. But we've never really talked about what muscle memory is, or how it even works. Now, obviously your muscles don't actually have the ability to store memories, so the piece doing all the work behind the heavy lifting is your brain. Every muscle movement starts there with an electrical signal. Since your brain is constantly looking for ways to do its job more efficiently, it will naturally begin to store commonly used movements and series of movements so that they can be recalled quickly without as much effort. Also, fun fact, your brain does almost all of this when you aren't practicing the thing you want to remember. So take breaks and get lots of sleep. But how exactly does this relate to gamers using preposterous peripherals? Well, allow me one more detour into the realm of music. Since long before there were heads to click in your FPS of choice, musicians have been learning and mastering some incredibly complex and intricate hand and finger movements. And, just like gamers, we see musicians gravitate towards different shapes and sizes of their chosen instrument. Even though they're putting those same notes and chords into memory, each person's fingers, hands, wrists, and so on are all different, and they will tend to play those notes and chords in different, more comfortable ways. And that right there is the key that could actually help you. Now, am I saying you should be slamming out your Valorant ranked games on a set of Rock Band drums? I mean, shit, if you can do that, you should definitely do that. That would be cool as hell. Right. That's not the point. What experimenting with weird peripherals can do is give you some insights into what sorts of movements, shapes, and positions are most comfortable, so you can find peripherals that work best and help you reach the top of your game.
And that was the guy who actually knows what he's talking about.
Whether it's for the purposes of accessibility or just pure entertainment, the fighting game community in particular has used some of the weirdest peripherals at events. Back in 2014, a Street Fighter 4 player named Luffy shocked the world when he won EVO with a PlayStation 1 controller.
And Luffy uses some meter for an EX Fireball, so no more Soul Spiral into supers.
But Bonchan also out of meter. Oh no! Oh no!
That's it! Luffy has done it! He has taken Evolution 2014!
Now, some of you may be thinking that a PS1 gamepad actually seems pretty tame, but let me assure you, for a game like Street Fighter, it is very out of the ordinary. Since the PlayStation 1 is basically ancient at this point, Luffy had to use a lag-free PS1 converter to play the game properly, while his opponents just had to plug in their fight sticks or pads. Some Street Fighter competitors, like Santoru Man, have actually memed on him for his controller selection.
Luffy, これがお前か。絶対逃げんじゃないか。
Since then, we've seen even crazier peripherals pop up in the FGC. From Guitar Hero controllers to GameCube keyboards and whatever the hell this is, fighting game enthusiasts have perhaps taken things a little too far. But at the 2018 Canada Cup, a player named Initial T did the unthinkable. He managed to take down the 2017 Guilty Gear champion, Dogura, with a steering wheel. Yes, you heard me. This dude plays Guilty Gear with a steering wheel.
Okay, goes for a good, a baby conversion.
The ghetto combo.
Does get a combo, hard knockdown.
Or just do super.
The clap, did this get him? It got him. And the burst bait on the stage. Initial T.
He lost his burst there every time.
Oh my goodness.
Now, thanks to an interview he did with Gerald of Core A Gaming, we were given a little insight as to why Initial T does this.
So it all kind of started on our local Discord. I bought this to actually play racing games on, but when I showed it to people on Discord, they were just like, but can you play fighting games on it? And I was like, why not? I'll give it a try. So I booted up Guilty Gear with this, tried some Hayden combos, and I was just like, okay, it works well enough. So then everybody started egging me on, oh, you better bring this to Canada Cup and better play your pools with this. So I was like, okay, I guess I'm doing it.
I know what all of you are wondering. Does Initial T control his character by physically turning the steering wheel? Sadly, the answer is no. Although he is able to control the side-to-side movement of his character by turning the wheel, he opts to use the D-pad for movement and the paddle shifter and other buttons to fight. But while the fighting game community continues to try out these large and clunky peripherals, competitors from other esports titles are on a quest to find lighter and smaller options. TKL 75% and 60% keyboards are becoming increasingly popular with gamers because of their small form factors, while many zoomers, particularly in the FPS space, just want their mice to be as light as possible. Clickers like the Superlight, Razer Viper Ultimate, and various Final mouse products have set an insane standard when it comes to weight. Some of them ship as light as 60 grams, and who knows, we might even see more weight shaved off in future iterations. But since not everyone can afford their fairly high price tags, some gamers will go to some pretty extreme lengths to cut off some of that weight.
I can almost promise you I have the most scuffed mouse ever. All right, let's take a general look at it. So first and foremost, this is a Model O. I chop the back off. I don't need it. I hold the mouse like this. I like to do precision movements with my fingers, so I don't need the back. The rubber double-sided tape here is actually just for reshaping. As you can see, it cups my thumb perfectly now. Same with these fingers, and especially my pinky, because before it was too narrow and make my pinky hurt so bad after playing for a while. So this widening it up, perfect. As for the mouse feet, I have one glorious ceramic foot because I lost one of these ones, and these ones are from an old Logitech G500 that I cut out.
Now, most people aren't sawing their shit in half like Bony TTV, but if you do prefer some smaller form factors, there are definitely some other options out there for you. Take Moth, for instance. He's a former support player for Overwatch rosters like the San Francisco Shock, LA Gladiators, and even Team USA. And back in 2019, he spoke to us about his rather strange keyboard setup.
My setup might be a little bit weird for some people. I've got like a split keyboard and I use a wooden wrist rest on the left hand, and I have 2 mouse pads stacked on one another, and I've been doing that for a very long time. It's just like what's comfortable to me, and it's something I've gotten used to, so I'm not really comfortable playing on a different setup. I can move the left side separately from the right side, so I can like put it wherever I want on the desk, and I have like empty space in the middle. I just like that better than having the keyboard take up all the space.
But these odd playstyles and peripherals aren't exclusive to fighting games and hero shooters. No matter what game you play, comfort is key to performing at your best. And within the speedrunning community, this is especially true. When every second and sometimes even milliseconds can make all the difference, players are always looking for ways to improve their efficiency within the server. And among the endless sea of speedrunning savants is a man who goes by the moniker Angelus Demonus. He runs the most difficult solo content in Final Fantasy XIV, despite the fact that said content was never actually designed to be soloed. Hell, nobody even managed to solo some of this content for nearly 2 years after the Deep Dungeon's release. A single run in the original Deep Dungeon can take players anywhere from 12 to 16 hours to complete, and about half that time for the follow-up version, Heaven on High. Now, these time-limited runs are an exercise in risk management, and they're extremely unforgiving. If at any point you happen to die, then you must start all the way back from the beginning. Barring specific rare items that need to be conserved to succeed, there are no second chances. Oh, and not to mention that there are randomized layouts and items, so RNG can also play a huge factor. And Angelus Demonus sits second on the Ether solo leaderboard. But what is particularly impressive is that he has secured this spot without the use of a mouse.
First off, we have my general movement, and my general movement is the basic super standard WASD. So C is just the normal movement, W is forward, S is back, AD is left and right. And this is where it gets interesting, is with my camera movement. My camera movement is set to the minus sign where the camera moves up, the open brackets where the camera moves down, P spins the camera to the left, and then the closed brackets spin the camera to the right.
Now, the vast majority of PC MMO players are accustomed to the standard mouse and keyboard. So we decided to sit down with Angelus and ask him why he opted to forego the former.
At the time 11 came out, it was when I was in college, and a lot of times I was in college and stuff, so I had a laptop on me. And it was just convenient that way, but 11 was not the greatest with the mouse support. It just was more like a controller game-ish, but also when you would kind of use the mouse, it was just kind of dull. So I kind of just figured out a way to do it with my keyboard, and that's kind of how it first started.
That adaptation became part of his playstyle, and when 14 released, it featured a lot of accessibility options to support both gamepad and PC peripherals. So he was able to replicate his experience in the newer MMO. Even if it isn't everyone's cup of tea, having both hands in your keyboard can have some benefits, like more precise targeting, one of the worst parts of FF14's interface. And let's not forget, this is a challenge where every second counts.
My spin's down. Okay. I'm gonna time out on 100. I'm gonna time out on 100. I don't have enough time to reach to exit and go. Oh my god. I don't have anything. This is gonna be the tragic ending. I'm not making it. What? Oh my god.
What Angelus Demonus might not have expected is that his strange method of playing the game has actually made Final Fantasy much more accessible to other players. And even if they don't adopt his playstyle as a whole, they can learn lessons about how to tweak their own. But no matter what type of games you play, you can always find somebody who is breaking the norm. Players who push the boundaries of what is and isn't possible by using obscure methods to compete. For some of them, it's just an attempt to stand out and prove to themselves that what they're doing is actually viable. While for others, their style of play doesn't seem all that strange to them. Their unorthodox setups or keybinds have allowed them to comfortably play and sometimes even compete at the highest level in the games that they love. Nowadays, most games allow you to customize everything. For PC gamers in particular, the freedom to change basically any part of your gameplay is honestly extremely appealing. So next time you see somebody running a super weird peripheral or keybinds or whatever, don't be so quick to judge. Sure, they might be crazy, but they might also be onto something. Yeah, I play CS and Valorant with knife on Q, primary on E, and pistol on X. And I use mouse buttons for nades and numbers. But people think it's really weird. I don't know. I've just played Counter-Strike like that for years. I just carried it over. I play CSGO like that. I play Valorant like that. I don't know. It works for me. It feels the most natural for me. And I'm pretty good. I'd like to think I'm pretty good. My ranks say I'm pretty good.